no se te escape el tiempo, resbalando por el hielo de las calles de tu mente, donde el frío ganará. Es un sueño roto a la mitad. Grita el cielo si es que quieres más.
And we are back on the Zoo with singer-songwriter Gustavo Galindo. Are you ready to get wild with us, baby?
I am. Yeah.
At the count of 3, 3, 2, 1. Wow! Actually, I did that backwards. I said at the count again. Dios mío, ¿qué le está pasando a este mailbox?
You're making him nervous. Making him nervous.
It's been years since I've seen it. Thank you.
Dennis, you have to just be prepared for that.
I think the back part of my mic is, you know, or either that or my booty is pumping again.
Well, that's good.
Those squats have been working.
Oh.
Yeah. Well, welcome to the Zoo, Gustavo.
Thank you. I'm so glad to be here.
Yeah, it's been a while. You know, I've interviewed you in the past, but tell us a little bit about your latest production and the fact that you've been away from the U.S. for several years now, right?
Yeah. So I used to live in Los Angeles here, and in 2012 I started going to Mexico City.
Okay.
And just going down and doing promo and songwriting, doing stuff for the last album that I did and released in 2012, 2011. Called Entre la Ciudad y el Mar.
Okay.
And so that album happened to be nominated for a Grammy with Maná and Calle 13.
Pretty nice.
And so that allowed me to start going down to Mexico, and I was with a label at the time, and so they sent me down there and I started doing shows and promo stuff, and then I ended up deciding to stay just because I liked it so much. And
really?
my dad's side of the family is all from Mexico City, so it was a good chance for me to finally be able to live down there as well.
But where are you from originally?
I was born in Mexico City, but I grew up here in California. Okay. So my mom's American and my dad's Mexican, and so I always had a foot in each place.
Right.
But I was never able to really live in Mexico City, so it was fun to actually go down and live finally as an adult in the city, and I just made a lot of really cool friends and really interesting people, and met a lot of, you know, really talented people that I admired for a lot of years, and so it was cool. It was kind of, there's a cool scene in Mexico City right now as far as creativity and songwriting and art goes, and so I just decided to stay and hang out for a little bit longer, and that ended up being 5 years.
Do you miss the U.S.?
I do. I miss LA a lot. I miss sushi. I miss the ocean. I miss, you know, just being able to go outside and enjoy the days here. And Mexico City is a lot of fun as well, and there's always something to do, but LA definitely has some magic to it that I miss.
So you come from a family of politicians, no? O sea, bueno, tu tío era Manuel Ávila Camacho.
Exactly.
So, which to me is really interesting because I'd like to know how involved you are, even though you took the artistic route on your career. How involved are you really, though, in politics and whatever's going on, especially now with the Latino community in the United States?
Yeah.
You haven't, you know, grown in California. What are your thoughts?
For sure. Well, it was always, I majored in government and political science in college, so it's always something that was there, but music was always something I did. And for me, it was always interesting just having that background and learning about, you know, kind of what my grandma's uncle did when he was president, and that just led to a lot of different kind of just interests as far as
because
political
Manuel
goes.
Ávila Camacho is one of Mexico's presidents.
He was president from
uncle,
1940 to 1946 in Mexico.
So it's like real politics.
And so it was really interesting, and my grandma has all these wonderful stories about that time period, you know, when she used to go and play in Los Pinos, which is the White House of Mexico. And
do you get to go there? Like,
no,
do you get,
I wish.
Free access into the
no, that was like since a long time ago. But she has wonderful letters and stories from all like presidents of that time as well, from all the interactions and photos with him and President Roosevelt, and dinners and things like that. So like that just interests me for a long time in history, and having that something so close in my family was always wonderful, and that really kind of gave me a more interest as far as my Mexican roots were concerned, is like what was happening in Mexico's history and what happened since then. And so as far as a songwriter too, it's just good to understand those stories, where those things come from, and as far as music as well, you know, being able to sing about things that aren't just about love and loss and things like that, sing about Mexico and culture, and sing about political things and cultural things that need to be said.
Okay, can I ask you? You know, I think that Americans don't understand or don't know enough. They're not informed enough about what goes on in Mexico, right? We're always talking about the Mexican impact in the United States, but we don't know enough about the American impact on Mexico, or what life is like in Mexico. I was actually in Mexico City about a year and a half ago. It's an amazing city. I mean, one of the world's great metropolitan cities. what's going on in Mexico now? What is the political state like? You know, how are they dealing with certain issues, whether it's the economy, the narco state, all that kind of stuff?
Yeah, well, I think it's always interesting. Mexico definitely has its own things you have to kind of put up with when you start living down there. It has a lot of beautiful things. You know, there's culture and food, music is incredible. You know, the city itself, the parks, the museums are insane. But there's also a part where it's kind of like the part where you have to get used to how things work, the slowness of the bureaucracy, the slowness of, you know, of like just getting like a simple parking ticket is just like a nightmare as far as logistics go. Like just having, you know, getting a boot on your car, you know,
Yeah.
and just like,
Really?
and then they have to come, and then
Yeah.
you have to argue and decide how much you're going to pay to get it taken off, and then if they're going to
Everything's
take
a
it,
negotiation.
The same thing happens when I go to Colombia. My dad tells me very similar stories.
It's
It's
just like the
crazy.
same. So it's really like the art of negotiation and kind of like, you know, how deep, unfortunately, corruption runs
Right.
in the country, and it's kind of rooted in from the top down. And so that's one of the things you have to learn how to deal with and
Navigate
to navigate through.
through.
So
Otherwise-
Just
Is that
accept,
gonna-
I guess.
But is it changing?
I think there's some sort of change. I think the newer generations think we're trying to, you know, not give in as much, you know. So friends of mine, they're like, no, I'm not gonna pay you anymore. Take my car to the lot, and the police officers don't want to take the car because it's a headache for them. So they end up trying to like negotiate something. So they're just trying to get a little bit more paid because the way it works is they get paid, so they pay the person above them that works just trickles its way up. So
Gosh,
It's
it's
trickle-up economics is what
Yeah.
it
it's
is.
fortunately in
There's
as
a
far
whole
as
trail.
We are back here on the zoo with our special guest, Gustavo Galindo. Now, let me ask you this. Are you very active on social media?
Yeah.
Are you also active on who you follow and who you unfollow?
I'm very active on following new people and just trying to just keep up. And, you know, it's interesting. Social media is such a good tool as far as connecting with your fans and staying on top of things and being able to show a little bit more about yourself. I think people nowadays want experiences more than they just want to consume music or to consume an artist. They want the experience of what you're doing, and they want to live that, and they want to breathe it, and they want to be with you when you're making an album or when you're writing songs or things like that. So
Well, sometimes you also have to not just follow somebody, but unfollow somebody, which brings us to a special game that we like to play, Follow, Unfollow. All right, Gustavo, this is how it works. I'm going to give you two parties, two people, all right? And why they're being pitted against each other, you're going to decide who you're going to follow and who you're going to unfollow.
Okay.
So today we have T-Pain versus Lil Wayne, okay? And not just because they rhyme. Lil Wayne's album, The Carter 3, sold over 3.2 million copies in the US, and T-Pain was featured on the album, and according to him, he still owed more than $500,000 in royalties from Young Money, which is Lil Wayne's label. So, first of all, what do you think about that issue, artists getting paid their royalties, and who do you follow and who do you unfollow?
Yeah, I think the whole royalty situation is so interesting just because nowadays music's so distributed digitally, and so it's hard to keep, you know, so you need to have people that stay on top of that. It sounds like someone drew up a contract that someone didn't read and something happened there. So, you know, I think as far as it's always hard, especially in the rap world where you have at least 10 writers per song kind of thing, where it's interesting because the beat is the song as far as that goes. So in music, and songwriting goes, like you can have a producer make a track and music on it, then you come and sing on it and you write over it and you're, you know, considered the writer. Whereas in hip hop, the person who makes the beat is considered the rest. So even if they're in the room, apparently, like you get like a person, you cut of it, because so many hands go into making those beats and those rap things, and then, you know, so many guest appearances that it just becomes a nightmare logistically as far as how do you divide up royalties and things like that. So I can see how that can get amazing. So I think in this case, I'd probably follow T-Pain and follow Lil Wayne.
So you think T-Pain has a case? He's deserved.
I think
he
so.
rapped on
I think
it.
just because he also, you know, he was an instrumental part in creating this kind of new sound using Melodyne and that kind of voice.
Have you ever dealt with trying to, you know, track down royalties that you were owed to for a collaboration?
No, I think I've had pretty decent people who've been able to work with, and you always are pretty upfront about it. When you sit down and write a song, you right from the front, you're like, okay, it's 50-50, or how you're going to divide up. If there's 3 people, then it's 35-35-35 or something like that. So
You don't have 50 people in the room trying to like add beats to your song or something.
Exactly. So like if you keep it simple, it's a lot easier.
Okay. Nice.
Interesting. Well, they also tell you that you're considered like a little bit of the John Mayer Latino.
I can see that. I can see that.
In social media. So I want to know if you think this is true. Can you compare like your style with his, or when it comes to the music? Obviously, yours is different. It's in Spanish.
Yeah, I think that's always funny. I always get this comparison, which is funny. But obviously,
But even the
John's
look,
like
you know,
6'3".
el copetito.
Oh, he's that tall?
He's tall, and he's a tall guy. And so he He's a lot taller, and obviously, like, I don't mind the comparison because he's a good-looking kid
Yeah,
as well,
he's
so
hot,
I can't
he's hot.
complain. And he's a great musician, and I think he's a really good songwriter. I think we have a lot of similarities as far as like our both kind of this respect for kind of folk, country, kind of roots stuff, and obviously he brings a little bit more kind of blues and there's a little bit more, I think, like adult contemporary, and whereas I tend to go a little more like country alternative, and then also mixing in Mexico and folkloric music from Latin America. So
Really, that's good.
so that's kind of like the way that I've been able to like difference this kind of mix of what I am, this Mexican American kid who grew up listening to, you know, Pearl Jam and grunge music, but loves Jose Alfredo Jimenez and Chavela, and like kind of these kind of two different parts. And so
Are those your influences?
yeah, I think just growing up, you know, my dad was always, he played guitar, and he was a big influence on what he used to listen to, from Beatles and Cat Stevens to Jose Jose.
I get
Wow.
Steven.
And all these different kind of artists from, like, he was a good, you know, from 60s, 70s when he grew up. And so that introduced me to this other kind of world, and, you know, being able to see what you can do with a guitar when you sit down and sing with your family or things like that. So that was kind of like the first introduction and first idea of what music was capable of doing, you know.
So from the side of your family, you got the artistic side from your dad.
For my dad, well, he's an architect, and so he played guitar just kind of for fun kind of thing. I guess, you know, to meet girls. Like
Is
all
that
of
why
us.
you have
Has
that
that
guitar?
worked for you?
It's worked so
Very
far.
smart. It's very smart.
That
It's very smart.
probably works pretty
And then
well.
my mom was a designer. She designed one-of-a-kind evening gowns and costumes, and so they both had this creative part, which is awesome. So
Well, we want to see more of your creative part. We're getting to the end of the show, so you want to play us out? First of all,
Sure.
Dennis, you want to thank the rest of our guests?
Yes, we want to thank Adam and Bruce for joining us, and of course, Gustavo Galindo. Can you please take it away, sir?
Tell us the name of the song.
So this is the latest song from a new album, the album called Renacer, and the song is called Grita al Cielo.
Awesome.
Vives entre puertas y fronteras, con preguntas sin respuestas, con las ganas en reversa y la vista a la pared. Y sientes cómo se te escapa el tiempo, resbalando por el hielo en las calles de tu mente, donde el frío ganará. Oh. Y es un sueño roto la mitad. Grita al cielo si es que quieres más, y mueve el alma si quieres bailar. No tropieces con el viento, no pelees con el tiempo, que la vida se nos va. Dios no solo está en el cielo, el infierno no es tu dueño, solo tú decidirás cómo vivir para mí.